There are so many seeds in here. Sprinkle them like the seed fairy I am. A lifetime supply of radishes. I didn't plant this was self-seeded. There are two main ways that I save seeds in my garden, and today I'm going to share those both with you. They're super simple and easy. Even if you have zero time, you can still be getting a whole lot of free plants from your garden. So my garden is a little bit wild at the moment. There's heaps of things gone to seed. So this one here, this is a lettuce flower that's gone to seed. Once it starts warming up, lettuces will often go to flower, and once they start producing a little flower in the middle of the lettuce, they can be really bitter and not very nice to eat. So at that point I just let them go. They go to flower, they have these beautiful yellow flowers on them, and then the bees come and help pollinate the garden. And then once the little yellow flowers die off, they turn into these seed pods. So you want to try and leave them on the plant as long as possible. They'll start to go brown and dry, and then you can just pick them off. And each flower has, you know, I don't know, 6 to 10 lettuce seeds in it, and there is hundreds of flowers on the seed head. So you just get thousands of lettuce seeds from a single lettuce going to flower or seed, and I have multiple throughout my garden, so I am definitely never buying lettuce seeds again, or even lettuces, because as I just sprinkle these through the garden, they pop up whenever they want and regrow, and I always have lettuces popping up here and there from letting things go to seed. So these lettuces are just about to burst into flower and then go to seed. So I'm going to leave these. So these will all turn into little yellow flowers, and then after the flowers come the seeds. So that's the dry seeds there. So there's heaps more to go. So I'm going to leave some of these in. And then all I'm going to do is pop them in a brown paper bag, like so, and you can get a few more to fit in the bag. Just shove them in, and then all I do is put a little bit of a tie around the bag. And I do this in a brown paper bag because it's much better for allowing the plant to dry out and not getting sweaty and keeping moisture in the bag. So just loosely so airflow can still get in. And now I can just hang this up to dry completely. As they fall out of the seed casings, they'll be captured here in this bag. And that's super simple. You can even just leave that till next season and then open the bag, and you'll have a whole bunch of lettuce seed. Otherwise you can just wait a few weeks till the stems brown off, they're completely dry, shake out the seeds into the bag, and then you'll have all your seeds in a bag. So make sure you label it as well with what it is and the date, so you know which ones to plant first. I like to direct sow most of the things in my garden, so I'm constantly sowing seeds, scattering seeds, and that way I always have things popping up here and there, and it's such a low maintenance way to garden. So this one here, this is a Brassica. So I grew some Romanesco in purple broccoli. Now there is a chance that these could have cross-pollinated if I was growing them at the same time, but the purple cauliflower were a lot later. The Romanesco went to flower a long time ago, and I've actually harvested a lot of those already. So there's not a huge chance that they've cross-pollinated, but it doesn't bother me too much if they do, because I'm just going to still get food no matter what, and it's always worth saving the seeds, in my opinion. To save the seeds of a broccoli or a cauliflower or any of those hybrids, then you have to sacrifice at least part of the plant. So the Romanescos were huge, and I was able to harvest off sections of that without harvesting the whole vegetable, which allowed me to be able to eat it and harvest it, but also save some of the seeds. But with some of the broccolis, you probably are going to have to sacrifice eating it to let it go to flower and seed. So once it's flowered and the bees have been loving your garden, then these little seed pods form. And they start off green and small, and they'll just get larger and start to turn brown. And you want to try and leave them on the plant as long as you can until they start to go that brown, crispy sort of colour and feel, because that means that the seeds are going to be mature and viable. So then all we want to do is harvest off these seed pods and allow them to fully dry out. So we want to make sure that the whole thing is dry, and you can do the same thing. You can hang them upside down. I sort of just harvested mine and left it around here. The only thing is you just want to make sure if you do get rain, you want to keep them out of the rain. And the other thing is if you leave these too long and they dry out, the seed pods will burst and seeds will go flying throughout your garden. So if you don't want to have, you know, a million Romanescos or broccolis popping up in your garden next year, then you might want to harvest them and take them elsewhere. You can hear them sort of rattling in their little seed pods. There are so many seeds in here. It's incredible what one plant can give you. So this one is very dry and very brittle, so the seeds are just going to fly out at any chance that they can get. So I'll try and pick one and show you. So then all you need to do is break open the seed pod. They're just flying in everywhere. So you always want to do this somewhere out of the wind because the seeds will blow away. But so from each little finger seed pod, we're getting, you know, 20 seeds. So I have quite a lot of seeds. So that's 20 plants in one little seed pod off the side, and I have, you know, hundreds of these. And again, I don't mind sprinkling some through the garden, and then the rest will go into brown paper bags as well. Speaking of hundreds of seeds on one plant, we have this mammoth thing here. So this is one single radish gone to flower and seed. It's huge. There is thousands of seeds on this thing. So this one is, once the flowers form, will again form these seed pods, and you want to wait until they start to go brown on the plant as well. And I can see some of these are starting to crisp off, and they're all really fat, which is what you want as well. So I could harvest this now and then keep it somewhere out of the rain, not that we have any, and until it's fully dried. And then each little seed pod we just want to crack open as well. And I've got some dried ones over here. So this little branch here is pretty much dry. And we can crack open one of these seed pods and have a look. So this is a black Spanish round radish, but pretty much all the radishes will be the same. They might not be as big as this one. This is quite a large one, which is why I'm saving seeds from it. You want to save seeds from your biggest and best plants, or the ones that are most healthy. So we've got 6 seeds in that single seed pod. And as you can see, if there's 6 seeds in each of these seed pods, I have a lifetime supply of radishes from one single radish that I let go to flower. I think that's pretty incredible. Down here we've got 2 types of edible flowers that I'm going to save seeds from. One is my beautiful cornflowers. These are one of my favourites to use in the kitchen. The little petals are so beautiful as on decorating cakes and food, salad, all the things. And then we've got our Calendula, which is another staple edible flower I have in the garden. And both of these are sort of going to seed now. So once the flowers finish on the Calendula, you'll start to see some green seed pods form, and then you want to just wait until those are brown and dry, and you can pick those off and pop them in a brown paper bag. I mean, you don't have to use a brown paper bag, you can use jars and everything like that, but I just use them. They're very cheap. They also allow the plants to dry out, so if there is a little bit of moisture in there, it's not a big deal. So from one calendula flower we have all of these seeds, so there's probably 50 plus calendula plants from one single flower. And again, both ways of saving seeds is to definitely save some of these so you can plant them wherever you want in the garden, but also I do sprinkle them like the seed fairy I am throughout the garden, because if they pop up, I don't mind. Whenever they pop up, I don't mind. I love having flowers in the garden, and if I don't have to plant them and they're already there doing their thing, that's completely fine by me. And with things like this, if they do pop up, and I have hundreds, like I had hundreds of lettuces popping up, once they get a little bit bigger, you can start propagating them up and moving them throughout your different garden if you do want them in other areas and you just have too many in a space. And then with the cornflowers, again, the same thing. You've got your beautiful cornflowers here, and if you let some of them dry off on the plant, they'll start to lose all their petals, and then they'll form these dry little seed heads here like this. And then all we want to do with this is crack it open. You can just put this whole thing in the brown paper bag and wait till next season, and that's completely fine as well. And then in here, inside, you've got these little fluffy things, and these are all the seeds. So this one's not fully dry yet, so I might let that dry off before I try and break it up, but that's single one that's come off, so it's got a little seed and then a fluffy bit on the end, and then that will go into the garden next year for a whole new plant. And there's probably another 30 on this little one here that still needs to dry off. A bonus tip is to bury your bug-eaten fruit and vegetables in the soil. I buried this half-eaten chili last year, and it's already popping up and providing a whole lot of free plants. This mammoth plant I have here behind me, this is a parsley that's gone to flower. So again, just like with the others, we're going to let this go to flower and then to seed. And what I've found with a lot of herbs that are going to flower is they attract a whole lot of beneficial insects like ladybugs to the garden. So where I can, I always let my herbs go to flower and seed, as well as a lot of native insects and native bees. So to save the seeds on the parsley, all we're going to do is allow them to flower, and then once they're finished flowering, they will start to dry off, and the little seed pods will fatten up and start to go brown. And once they start to go brown, we can then harvest them, pop them in a brown paper bag upside down, and all the seeds will fall out, and we will never be buying parsley seeds ever again. And again, same, I sprinkle some through the garden. This garden very much so is self-seeded. I let everything here go to flower and seed, and I didn't plant this. This was self-seeded, and becomes like a really low maintenance garden. Means that you always have things popping up in your garden, and if you forget to plant things, it's no stress, because there's going to be something popping up at some time. This one here, this is an onion that has gone to flower. So the onions have beautiful flowers. They're like a bulb of hundreds of tiny little florets, and then once those dry off on the plant, each one of these holds multiple seeds as well. So again, all we would do is pick off the semi-dried seed. Oh, it smells so good. I love the smell of onions and spring onions. So we have had to sacrifice harvesting the bulb of this, so I didn't get to eat this one onion, but now I'm going to have hundreds of seeds. And again, I'll just pop this upside down in a brown paper bag, and all the seeds will fall out. That way I don't have to try and open these up. And then next year, honestly, next year I'll just pull this out, shake it upside down, and then I've got seeds to plant. This beautiful red flower here, this is the pineapple sage, which is my absolute favourite thing to grow in the garden. It's a delicious herb that has like a really tropical pineapple scent and flavour. And also the little birds come and harvest the nectar and the bees and all the pollinators as well. So it's a must in my garden is pineapple sage. So I do want to try and make sure it's always popping up or have seeds to grow. So after the flowers die off, they'll leave behind these little casings, which again, we're going to wait till them to go brown, and then I can harvest these and the seeds will be inside. You can also propagate it by cuttings, so I can just break off a bit, take off the bottom leaves to help it out, and pop that in a jar of water to root, or just pop it straight into moist soil and I can have another pineapple sage plant. Down here we have some beautiful pansies. Again, these are edible flowers, and once the flowers have died off, they leave behind these little casings here. And so you do have to get onto these quite quickly or they burst and the seeds will spread through the garden anyway, which I'm not worried about. But if you do want to save the seeds to regrow next year, this one, the petals have fallen off, and you can see inside is this little, sun is coming out now. So all we want to do is dry this off, and then the seeds will be inside that. So we can go through and pick off all these ones. And this is one that you do have to try and wait till it's mature, like till it's a nice little bulb, but also if you don't do it in time, they will burst open and you'll have seeds already throughout the garden. So this one, the seeds have already gone, so that's all good. We'll definitely be getting pansies popping up again next year. This one is really close to bursting open. So what happens is they sort of explode like that and all the seeds will go flying, which is its way of spreading its seed. Next up we have snapdragon seeds. So these are edible flowers that I like to plant all throughout my garden beds, and they have bright, colourful flowers to attract pollinators to the garden, and plus they're also edible as well. So after the flowers sort of dry off on the plant like this, and the seed pod will be left behind. So you want to wait until the seed pod goes brown and dry as well, and then each little flower has a seed pod. And then inside the seed pod is all the seeds. So as you can see, there are so many seeds in here. And again, we can do this just like the lettuce. We can scatter these through the garden bed to pop up again whenever they feel like it. Or we can do the same thing, pop these in a brown paper bag upside down and let them dry out, and all the seeds will fall out of the casings into the bottom of the bag, and we can replant them next year. The sun is coming back out. It is well and truly heating up here for summer. I have a whole lot of work to do in these gardens. I'm going to do a bit of a garden reset in my raised garden beds, so make sure you stick around for the next video to see what I'm doing, because I'm doing something completely different this year that I've never done before.